Okay guys, brace yourself for part 2 of this incredible story. You'll remember that in part 1, we introduced you to a fascinating project being developed by Midnight Sun. Remember them?
We have a 500 square kilometer project, world-class mining companies completely surrounding us. We have a very clear goal in both finding a multi-generational asset and then developing that multi-generational asset to the point that it is appealing to a major mining company. Our top exploration target's an area called Dumbwa. Dumbwa is a 20-kilometer long soil anomaly. We've cut a deal with Cobold, and we're going to find out what that system actually has. This is multiple opportunities for a big discovery.
In part 1, we explained that we're going to follow the fortunes of Midnight Sun over the coming months so that we can keep you as close as possible to this investment opportunity. Now, that sounds fine in principle, but even we weren't prepared for what was to come. Before we get to that, let's just quickly reset the scene and remind you of this project's potential, because you're going to need that for context.
In 2023, Midnight Sun was sitting on one of the best copper exploration properties in the world, in one of the top global jurisdictions to explore for transformative copper deposits. So Midnight Sun has a property sitting in the heart of the Domes region in Zambia. It's actually the second largest copper producing district in the world. There are 4 of the largest mines completely surrounding Midnight Sun's property, and the largest African copper producer, First Quantum's Kansanshi mine, is right next door to us. These are deposits that are 1 billion tons or greater. They're the largest copper deposits in the world. We have geology, we have discoveries across our property from the northeast corner to the southeast corner. And we know that we have something going on that property that warrants investigation, and there's a good opportunity for us to discover a transformative copper deposit. But we need funding. When we were looking at a way to move this project forward, we figured that a deal would be easy to find, that we could get a deal in place and move it forward in a matter of weeks or maybe months. We knew that there was interest, and we found the answer through an earn-in agreement with Cobold Metals, an AI mining company backed by some of the largest Silicon Valley investors in the world. A $15.5 million deal that would allow us to find out what Dumbwa, one of 4 targets on our property, actually held.
So that's how we left the team at Midnight Sun last time. They had everything lined up, the right location, the right people, the right funding. And on top of all of that, a market that is crying out for more copper as we accelerate the energy transition towards electricity and battery power. What could possibly get in the way of this massively exciting project with such huge upside? 2 words: cash burn.
Our project alone is 506 square kilometers. It takes an incredibly large amount of funding, a large amount of cash, in order to carry out the amount of work that you need to actually move these projects forward. Going into negotiation, you still have the expenditures that are required to keep the company running. Whether it's general overhead, whether it's work in the field that you're carrying out, you still need to keep moving. Once we entered negotiations with Cobold, we thought it would take a matter of weeks, but a matter of weeks turned into months, many months in fact. And 6 months later, we were looking for funding, needing funding, and moving forward without the deal announced yet. And unfortunately, once you move into the process of a large transaction like our earn-in agreement with Cobold, you can't be out raising money while that large transaction is taking place. From a regulatory standpoint, you have to conclude that deal before you can go back to the market and raise more money. So Midnight Sun ended up in a position where for many, many, many months, we couldn't raise money. We were running on fumes.
Running on fumes. Can you imagine what that must have been like? Being right on the cusp of a huge opportunity, but not knowing whether you have enough money to take advantage of it. This is the trauma that confronts many operators within the mining industry. But what can you do? The guys at Midnight Sun had no option but to double down on their plan.
The deal with Cobold was the right answer. That was how we were going to move Dumbwa forward, but we had to get there. Whether that took 2 weeks, 3 months, 6 months, or a year, we knew that this deal with Cobold was the pivotal transaction for Midnight Sun to move our project forward and unlock the true value of our Solwezi project. The clock was ticking, but the process was long. It was slow. There were so many intricacies and so many aspects that needed to be covered off. But our partners were amazing. They worked with us. We kept going forward. There was no way that quitting was an option for us. We'd been through too much. We've had this project for over 12 years. We've stuck it out through tough copper markets, tough general markets. We did everything we could to hang on to this project and get it through to the finish line. And now we were there. We could see it. The finish line was on the horizon. Quitting wasn't an option.
That attitude is what separates the successful teams from the wannabes and the dreamers. Winning requires hard work and often a lot of suffering. It also demands vision. When you're under that much pressure and you still don't walk away, there's got to be something that drives you onwards. And usually it's the belief that what you're doing is going to pay you back spectacularly.
So we kept on going. And by the end of the year, we could see the light at the end of the tunnel. And we signed our deal with Cobold. We had a $15.5 million earn-in. We were going to get the 40,000 meters of drilling we needed, and we were through the end of the process. It was the most satisfying and incredible feeling you could possibly imagine. We knew we were finally going to find out what Dumbwa had. We knew we were finally going to move our project forward. Cobold had the right team. They had the most amazing geoscientific team in the world. We knew we had all the pieces. Now Midnight Sun could finally do what we needed to do for the last 6 or 8 months. We could get to market and raise money.
Suddenly, Midnight Sun had their first big investor locked in, and now they could reach out to other investors and build on the momentum generated by the deal with Cobold. The company was secure, but they still needed more investment to truly make the most of the potential. We
started going to conferences, we started doing interviews, we started media, we started to tell the world about this amazing deal. And while all of this was happening, we kept a key conversation underway with our neighbors, one of the largest copper producers in the world. And it was this conversation that took an exciting turn and provided an incredible opportunity, which completely changed the game for us. First Quantum, who owns the Kansanshi mine, Africa's largest copper producer, located right next door to us, needed oxide copper material for their Kansanshi mine, for their oxide circuit. They produce a byproduct of sulfuric acid, but they use near-surface oxide copper material and they heap leach it using that sulfuric acid, which not only neutralizes the acid and gets rid of that environmental liability, but it unlocks a robust revenue stream. We had the oxide copper material on our property. We'd found it in drilling numerous times, and we knew there was material there. We're going to work together to look at Midnight Sun's property and explore to see if we can find enough material to not only solve their issue, but unlock a brand new revenue stream for us both.
Can you imagine? Your whole business is about finding a massive copper reserve, and then out of the blue, you uncover a brand new revenue opportunity that you hadn't expected. One that wasn't in your figures, and which could be huge. This is like a ridiculously over-the-top version of finding a $100 bill down the back of the couch. And as you might imagine, this unexpected bonus, on top of an already great proposition, was a story that investors loved.
With the collaborative exploration plan with First Quantum now announced and in place, and a deal with Cobold Metals to explore Dumbwa, we took our story to the market. We went to potential investors with this twofold attack plan and showed them that we had an opportunity for near-term cash flow with our collaborative exploration plan with First Quantum, and this large SEDEX target that we were going to attack with Cobold. And we set out about the plan of raising $3 to $4 million. What started out at 3.3 million ended up at 10. With some of the biggest investors in our industry involved, So now we have all the pieces in place for Midnight Sun. We've got an earn-in with Cobold Metals, $15 million in exploration, and we're going to find out what Dumbwa really has. And we have a collaborative exploration plan with First Quantum. And we're funded. $10 million in financing. This is where things get exciting. Now we start to drill. We're going to have drill programs happening at Dumbwa, drill programs at Kaziba, and eventually at Mitu. This is where we start to really realize the value of these properties. We're in the right place at the right time, and we have the people to drive this project forward. And we're finally going to discover the true potential of the Solwezi project.
That's why this series is special. We're tracking this story as it happens, long before it hits the mainstream media. It's super rare to be there this early, to be able to take a look behind the scenes and follow the progress of a story in near real time. Now, yes, of course there are risks. This is mining after all. And we really don't know what will happen next. But wow, what an adventure, what potential. And this is just the beginning. See you next time.